recall, sir.
That would be not an unusual conversation for you to have.
Objection, relevant.
Sustained. There's a partial answer, stricken.
You said that Dr. Murray came to ask you about these things before Michael Jackson was pronounced dead. That's what your testimony.
Objection, misstates the testimony.
Well, is that correct or not?
Well, I think it misstates the testimony, but we'll find out. Overruled.
Is that correct or not?
Could you ask the question?
When did Dr. Murray tell you allegedly about this cream?
This was after Mr. Jackson was pronounced dead.
All right. When? What time?
I don't have the time, sir.
Was it an hour after? Was it 2 hours after?
I would say the family was there, his managers were there, and the children was with the family. Time had, like you said, it's hard to tell time in those kind of situations, but it was some time after.
Yeah, time is hard to tell when you're stressed out and you're worried, right?
Yes, sir.
It's not to keep track of, right?
Depending on the situation.
Right. Now, when we say pronounced dead, we're talking about when you found out that Michael Jackson was pronounced dead.
Let me take that back. When Dr. Murray and the doctors walked out, and they closed the curtain, and they said he passed.
Because Dr. Murray was with the doctors who were with Michael Jackson during the time that he was in the hospital. You saw that?
From what I've seen, yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Williams, it's Michael Amir Williams, is that right?
Correct.
That is your only name. You haven't been known by any other name.
Michael Amir Williams.
Okay. And the people at the house refer to you as Brother Michael?
The objection is sustained. The partial answer is stricken. Disregard.
Wait. That was a very familiar. I mean, people were very familiar with you at the residence, I guess is my question. Everybody knew you?
Vague.
Overruled. As Mr. Jackson's personal assistant, were you known by the other members of the staff?
Yes, sir.
And the family?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Extremely familiar, right?
No, not extremely familiar.
Were you around quite a bit?
Around who?
Well, you were around the house, the Carrollwood residence quite a bit?
Yes, sir.
Were you around Michael Jackson quite a bit?
Yes, sir.
You said that on usually at least two occasions, you talked to Michael Jackson on a daily basis?
Yes, sir.
Is that generally as much contact as you had with Michael Jackson? Was 2 phone calls?
Objection, vague.
You understand it?
No, sir.
Sustained. Yes.
All right. You said in your direct testimony that you often would in touch with Michael Jackson, sometimes twice a day.
I remember several times a day. That was normal.
So several times a day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you were with him many times during the day. Many times you spoke to him during the day. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. You mentioned a time that you were introduced to Dr. Murray in 2000. Was it 2007 or 2008?
I'm not sure what year.
Was it? Do you recall the very first year that you saw Dr. Murray? Was it 2007, 2006?
2007. Seen him.
And you said that when he came to the Vegas house, when you first saw him, it was pretty casual?
Yeah, when I first saw him, it wasn't an introduction. I just seen a gentleman going inside. I didn't speak to him, and I wasn't given any information on him.
Well, when you said it was pretty casual. Is that what you meant by that? You just weren't given any information about?
Yes, sir.
Well, do you know what his purpose was to come to the house?
Not that time.
How was he dressed?
Don't remember.
What time of day was it?
I don't remember.
Do you remember if he ultimately met with Michael Jackson during that day?
That's probably what he was there for, but I don't have any knowledge on that.
During the period of time that you knew Michael Jackson, did you come to know how Dr. Murray and Michael Jackson met?
No, sir.
Never knew. Okay. You've been a personal assistant for 2 years, you said?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? And before that, you were a videographer, a librarian of videos, that kind of thing?
Yes, sir.
And how long was that?
That wasn't long. A few months.
Few months. Who was Michael Jackson's personal assistant before you?
Objection, relevant.
Sustained. Partial answer if there is one.
Did he have a personal assistant before you?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Did you create this job for the first time for
Objection
Michael
relevant.
Jackson?
Sustained. Another subject area, please. Thank you.
All right, let's summarize what information you had about what happened on June 25th. The very first time, after you left Carrollwood and dropped off Michael Jackson's packages and Michael Jackson from his rehearsal, the very first time you came back to Carrollwood was after the ambulances had already arrived. Is that right?
June 25th, yes, sir.
The events that occurred in Carrollwood residence, at Carrollwood, during that period of time, you have no information about. You have no idea what happened. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And you said that you received... Do you have people? Thank you. You received a phone call from Dr. Murray at voicemail at 12:13, right?
Yes, sir.
And you called him back at 12:15, right?
Correct.
And what Dr. Murray said to you, as you recalled later, was, come here right away, we need security, or something of that nature. Is that right?
The 12:15 call?
Yeah, tell me what happened. Tell me
12:15
what the
call,
conversation
he
was
asked, where are you? I said, I'm downtown. And he said, get here right away. Mr. Jackson had a bad reaction.
All right.
And I started asking questions. Don't remember what question. But I remember the next thing was get somebody up here, meet him.
And what questions were you asking?
I could only guess what's going on, what happened.
Right, you wanted to know what was going on.
That's a guess,
right?
though. That's not fact.
Clearly, listening to Dr. Murray on the phone, you could tell he was stressed. He was worried. He needed help, right?
Yes, sir.
You knew it was an emergency situation.
Objection misstates the testimony.
I'm leading my witness on cross-examination.
I don't have to hear argument from either side. The objection is overruled. You may answer it.
Could you repeat the question?
You knew that it was an emergency situation.
No, sir.
All right, we just heard a voicemail from Dr. Murray at 12:13. You had heard that voicemail before you called him at 12:15, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And we listened to it together. You heard it with us, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me that Dr. Murray obviously sounds like he needs help?
Yes, sir.
And it's clear that Dr. Murray is incredibly stressed in that voicemail. You would agree with me on that?
Yes, sir.
All right. You didn't think it was an emergency?
Well, when I called him back, he would have said, it's an emergency. He said, Mr. Jackson had a bad reaction. I don't know what you resume when you hear that, but when I hear someone had a bad reaction, I don't think anything fatal, me personally. And I wasn't asked to call 911, so he told me what to do, and I did what the doctor instructed me to do, get somebody up there immediately.
You had, during your you had a 35-second phone call with Dr. Murray. That's fair, right? 35 seconds.
Yes, sir.
And during that whole 35-second phone call, the only thing you heard from Dr. Murray was he had a bad reaction. That's the only information you got.
Wait, everybody is talking over everybody else. The objection is what, please?
Misstates testimony.
Sustained.
It's not testimony. I'm asking a question.
Just a moment. Again, we're not going to have speaking objections or speaking responses. The objection is sustained. The partial answer is stricken. Please rephrase the question.
Are you saying in 35-second conversation, Murray, the only thing he ever told you about this particular situation was that he had a bad reaction?
He told me Mr. Jackson had a bad reaction. He told me to get here right away. This is excluding my part of the conversation. Mr. Jackson had a bad reaction. Get here right away, and to get somebody up here immediately. And I tried to follow those instructions to the best of my ability.
What is, you mentioned that you had security on staff 24 hours a day.
There was 2 security at all times on the property.
24 hours a day.
Yes, sir.
7 days a week.
Yes, sir.
Security was very important to Michael Jackson,
Yes, sir.
right? It was very important to you on
Yes.
behalf of Michael Jackson, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you have gates that close out people from entering the Carrollwood residence, right?
Yes, sir.
And you have people that man those gates, 30 staff,
Yes, sir.
right? entrance into those gates is guarded and monitored.
Yes, sir.
If a police officer came into that gate, would they just open the gate?
No, sir.
If a family member came to the gate, would they just open the gate?
By Michael's request only.
And in fact, on May 13th, 2009, you were visited by Joe Jackson and Randy Jackson on that day?
Objection relevant.
The objection is sustained. Mr. Chernoff, let me know for purposes of the noon break when it would be convenient.
Well, it's noon. It's going to be a while. So.
All right? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take the noon break. Please remember and comply fully with all of the admonitions and instructions and orders. Please enjoy your lunch. We will be in recess until 1:30 p.m. And if the